New York spent billions of dollars trying to rebuild one of America's most hated airports. For years, LaGuardia was mocked by travelers, criticized by politicians, and treated like a symbol of broken American infrastructure. Then came the massive rebuild. New terminals, better roads, modern gates, cleaner spaces, and a completely new image for one of the busiest cities on Earth. LaGuardia was supposed to become the comeback story. But in May 2026, something strange happened. A sinkhole appeared near one of LaGuardia's runways. Not in some empty corner, not in a parking lot. Near runway 4/22, one of the airport's two main runways. Suddenly, flights were delayed, passengers were stuck, crews moved in, and one question became bigger than the hole itself. Was this just a small repair problem? Or was America's rebuilt airport hiding a deeper weakness beneath its surface? LaGuardia Airport is not just another airport. It sits in New York City, one of the most important travel markets in the world. Every delay here matters, every runway matters, every taxiway matters, and every hidden weakness in the ground can turn into a serious operational problem. For decades, LaGuardia had a reputation for being crowded, outdated, and frustrating. It served one of the world's most powerful cities, but the airport experience often felt old and broken. That is why the rebuild became such a big deal. It was not just about making the airport look better, it was about proving that old infrastructure could be transformed into something modern, efficient, and reliable. But airports are not only terminals, they are not only glass walls, luxury lounges, food courts, and bright new gates. An airport is a system. And the most important part of that system is often the part passengers never see: the ground, the runway, the drainage, the soil, the hidden layers underneath thousands of tons of aircraft movement. And that is where LaGuardia's story becomes much more complicated. To understand the sinkhole, you have to understand where LaGuardia was built. The airport sits along the waterfront in Queens, beside Flushing Bay and Bowery Bay. This location made sense in aviation's early years because it was close to Manhattan and had open water nearby. But building an airport there meant changing the land itself. Parts of LaGuardia were built on reclaimed land, which means low and wet coastal areas were filled in and turned into usable ground. Reclaimed land can support major infrastructure, but it also demands constant care. It can settle over time. Water can move through it. Old fill material can behave differently from natural ground. Drainage problems can create hidden spaces below the surface. And when heavy aircraft, pavement, service vehicles, and decades of pressure sit on top of it, small underground problems can slowly become serious. This does not mean LaGuardia is unsafe, but it does mean the site needs continuous inspection, maintenance, and engineering attention. That is why the May 2026 sinkhole matters. It was reportedly found during a routine inspection, and that detail is important. It means the system caught the problem before it became something worse. But it also raised a much bigger question. If the ground near a runway can open up, what else could be happening under the surface? On May 20th, 2026, crews inspecting LaGuardia's airfield discovered a sinkhole near runway 4/22. For a normal road, a sinkhole is already dangerous. But at an airport, it is a much bigger risk. LaGuardia only has two main runways, so when one of them is closed, the airport loses a large part of its capacity. Aircraft cannot be managed like cars on a street. You cannot simply move everything to another lane and continue normally. Planes need safe spacing, accurate sequencing, runway separation, and strict coordination between pilots, ground crews, and air traffic control. When one runway closes, arrivals slow down, departures wait longer, delays build, passengers miss connections, and airlines start adjusting schedules. A single weakness in the ground can affect thousands of people in the air. That is what makes this case so powerful. A sinkhole near a runway is not just a hole, it is a warning sign. It suggests that something underground may have shifted, washed away, settled, or lost support. Before a runway can fully return to normal, crews need to inspect the area, understand the cause, repair the damage, and make sure the problem is not spreading. Runways may look like simple pavement, but they are actually complex engineering structures. At the top, you see asphalt or concrete. Underneath are layers of base material, compacted soil, drainage systems, and structural support. If one hidden layer fails, the surface may still look normal for some time. Then cracks appear. Then the pavement sinks. Then a void grows. And eventually, the surface gives way. That is why airport inspections are so important. A small sign on the surface can reveal a much larger problem underground. The timing also made the story more dramatic. LaGuardia had just gone through a major transformation. The airport was no longer supposed to be the symbol of broken infrastructure. It was supposed to be proof that America could rebuild. So when a sinkhole appeared near a runway, the image was hard to ignore. A modern airport above, a hidden ground problem below, a rebuilt passenger experience, but an old coastal site still fighting water, pressure, settlement, and time. This does not mean the entire LaGuardia rebuild failed. The terminal project and the runway issue are not the same thing. A beautiful new terminal can exist beside an old airfield challenge. But for passengers, investors, and the public, the distinction is not always clear. People see one airport, so the question becomes simple. Did New York rebuild the parts passengers could see, while the parts beneath the airport remained vulnerable? That is the emotional core of this story. Airports are like cities. The visible parts get attention. The invisible parts carry the burden. Terminals impress passengers, runways protect them. LaGuardia's situation also points to a much bigger problem facing airports around the world. Many major airports were built near water because coastal land was flat, open, and close to important cities. But today, those same locations face new pressure. Coastal airports can deal with flooding, storm surge, erosion, drainage problems, ground settlement, and sea level rise. Some sit on reclaimed land. Some sit on soft soil. Some depend on pumps, barriers, drainage channels, and constant maintenance to keep working. As airports become busier and weather becomes more extreme, the future of aviation will not only be about smarter terminals and faster security lines. It will be about resilience. Can the ground hold? Can the drainage system keep up? Can the runway survive decades of pressure? Can old airports adapt to new environmental risks? LaGuardia's sinkhole became a reminder that modern infrastructure is never truly finished. It must be watched, tested, repaired, and protected every day. Now, we have to be careful. Without a final engineering report, we cannot claim one exact cause for the sinkhole. But generally, sinkholes and pavement failures happen when the material beneath the surface is weakened or removed. Water is often a major factor. If drainage fails, or if underground water movement washes away soil, an empty space can form below the pavement. Over time, the surface loses support. Another possible factor is settlement. Especially on filled or reclaimed land. Different layers of ground can compact at different speeds, creating weak points. Aging underground infrastructure can also play a role. Airports are full of drains, pipes, electrical systems, and utility corridors. If something underground leaks, breaks, or shifts, it can damage the soil around it. Whatever the exact cause, the larger lesson is clear. Airports are living systems. They age, they move, they settle, they crack. They need constant inspection because failure does not always begin where people can see it. So, is America's rebuilt airport already failing? The honest answer is no, not in the simple dramatic way. One sinkhole does not mean the whole airport is collapsing. It does not mean passengers should panic. In fact, if the problem was found during inspection, that shows the safety process was working. But yes, the sinkhole does reveal a deeper truth. LaGuardia's modernization did not erase the challenges of its location. It did not change the fact that the airport sits on a tight coastal site. It did not remove every risk hidden under decades of airfield pavement. And it did not make the airport immune to water, settlement, and aging infrastructure. That is the real story. LaGuardia was rebuilt to fix the passenger experience, but the sinkhole reminded everyone that the real test of an airport is not only how modern it looks, it is how well the entire system survives pressure. The LaGuardia sinkhole crisis is not just a New York story. It is a warning about the future of airports. Around the world, cities are building bigger, smarter, and more beautiful airports. But underneath every glass terminal is an old engineering question. Is the ground strong enough? Because when the ground fails, everything above it becomes vulnerable. LaGuardia's new terminals may have changed the airport's image, but the sinkhole near runway 4/22 showed that infrastructure success is never permanent. It has to be maintained, it has to be monitored, it has to be earned again and again. And in the future, the next airport crisis may not begin in the sky, in the control tower, or inside the terminal. It may begin underground. Because sometimes the most important part of an airport is not the planes, not the gates, and not the building. Sometimes the most important part is the ground beneath them.